The galaxy was an endless expanse of stars, each planet and civilization holding its own secrets, struggles, and strengths. But there was one planet, one species, that many had heard of, but few had truly understood: Earth. The people of Earth were a curious mix of intelligence, resilience, and something darker. It wasn't just their technologies or their cities or their exploration of the universe that made them stand out. It was something else entirely. Across the galaxy, Earth's reputation had spread, not as the cradle of advanced technology or peacekeepers of the stars, but as a species that had survived against all odds. Earth's monsters were whispered about in secret corners of alien spaceships, in the dark halls of galactic councils. But no one truly believed it. Not yet. A galaxy-wide council, made up of the most powerful and influential species, had gathered in the great capital of the Andromeda cluster. The room, a massive dome of silver and blue glass, was filled with diplomats, warriors, and scholars. All came to discuss the growing threat of a mysterious new species, a species that had appeared on the outer edges of the galaxy. Earth's monsters had made their first move, and it had shaken the entire galaxy. "What do we know of them?" the council president asked, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. His tone was calm, yet there was a subtle tension in the air. The species in question had only recently been discovered, but their power had already been felt. An alien diplomat, T'Chor, the representative of the Clithians, an ancient and advanced race, stood up. His skin was dark as a starless night, with glowing red veins running across his face. His voice was smooth but laced with uncertainty. "The humans. Their power is unlike anything we've encountered. They are not just another species in the universe. They are unpredictable." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking into the minds of the assembled leaders. "Explain," the council president urged. T'Chor took a deep breath. "Humans, they survive. No matter the odds, their planet, Earth, has been through countless trials, wars, destruction, invasions, and yet they rise. What's more terrifying is that their monsters are not mere tales or legends. They are real." A low murmur spread through the room. The word monsters held weight, especially in a galaxy where many species prided themselves on their advanced and peaceful ways. For many, the idea of monsters seemed primitive, something from the past, something to be left behind. But the humans had resurrected it. They had created something that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. "Could they be a threat?" asked Azek, the massive four-armed warrior from the Terrazium Federation. His glowing orange eyes were locked on T'Chor. "We've encountered them before. Small skirmishes, nothing more." "They have evolved," T'Chor responded quickly. "And they are not afraid. The humans, they fight. And they fight without mercy when cornered." An unsettling silence fell over the council. These were not just rumors. T'Chor had witnessed it firsthand. The humans were not like the peaceful or stoic species of the galaxy. They were survivors, and if their enemies underestimated them, the consequences could be disastrous. One of the council's older members, a wise but tired alien named Zira, raised her hand. Her scales shimmered silver in the soft light. "I believe we are all missing the most important fact. These humans. They are not invincible. They have limitations." T'Chor shook his head. "That's what we thought at first. But I saw one of their monsters. He didn't just fight. It was as if he became the very environment around him. It was unnatural." Zira scoffed. "You speak of human soldiers. Of course they fight to survive. They've been doing so for millennia." T'Chor's eyes narrowed, his voice firm. "These soldiers, they're not just fighting. They are something else entirely. They were created by their own past, by their wars, by their darkest history, and they will stop at nothing to protect their own. The galaxy is not ready for what these humans could bring." The room grew still. It was clear that the council's leaders had not anticipated this. They were prepared for diplomacy, for trade agreements, and alliances, but not for a species that had survived against unimaginable odds and had turned their darkest history into the very weapon that might endanger the galaxy. Should we not reach out to them? Another council member, a diplomat from the HFY Star Collective, asked. Perhaps they can be reasoned with, understood. We may not know their full history, but if they've survived, as T'Chor says, they must have wisdom. We must seek peace. T'Chor's expression hardened. I don't think peace is what they seek. They've been pushed to the edge of their existence for too long. Peace is something they know only briefly. They will not come to us willingly. I disagree, Sira said, turning toward T'Chor. They have a history of peace, have they not? Wars, yes, but also a civilization that built something far beyond what you are describing. We have seen the good in them. Perhaps they're not as dangerous as you believe. The council president interrupted. Enough. We will act quickly then. We'll send an emissary to Earth to propose peace and offer an alliance. T'Chor shook his head vigorously. That is a mistake. The humans won't listen. They never do. Then what do you suggest? The council president demanded, his tone growing firmer. I suggest we do not provoke them further, T'Chor said. Do not call them monsters and expect them to help you. The humans do not care for your politics. They fight because they must. And if you push them too hard, they will fight all of us. The room grew quieter as T'Chor's words settled into the minds of the council. Could the galaxy truly survive a war with humanity? Could anyone? As the debate continued, a cold realization dawned on the council members. They had misjudged Earth, misjudged its people, and now they had to face the consequences. The humans weren't just another species to be dealt with. They were a force to be reckoned with. Somewhere on the edges of the galaxy, at the farthest point from the center of this council, humanity was watching. They had always known that one day they would be asked to show the galaxy what they were capable of, and now that time had come. The stars of the galaxy twinkled in the distance, cold and distant, indifferent to the struggles unfolding below. On the surface of Earth, life went on, unaware of the great discussions happening light years away in the council chambers of the galaxy's powerhouses. But that was about to change. The galaxy's representatives had made their decision. They would send an emissary to Earth, hoping to appeal to humanity's sense of diplomacy and cooperation. But they were mistaken if they thought that the humans would react the same way as the other peaceful species. On Earth's capital, a grand meeting was being held. High-ranking officials, military leaders, and scientists gathered to prepare for the diplomatic mission. The mood was tense, with some skeptical of the idea of reaching out to the galaxy. It was a strange situation. Humans had long been peaceful, but the galaxy's perception of Earth as a dangerous, unpredictable place had only grown stronger. What did the rest of the galaxy know of Earth's warriors? Not much, but one thing was certain: they were far from helpless. In the quiet of the war room, President Harper, the leader of the United Nations of Earth, paced nervously. He knew the weight of what was about to happen. He had read the reports and heard the warnings. This mission to speak with the galaxy's emissaries could either secure humanity's place in the galaxy or lead them into an unavoidable conflict. The emissary's ship would arrive soon. His decision was made. We don't have time for doubts, President Harper said, turning to his military advisor, General Carter. We must show them that humanity is capable of reason. We can negotiate. General Carter, a tall man with a weathered face, shook his head slowly. With all due respect, Mr. President, I don't think they're here for peace. They came to see us, but they're not prepared for what we can offer. If the galaxy thinks they can intimidate us with their forces, they've made a mistake. You think we should prepare for war? Harper asked, his voice stern. I think we should be ready for anything, Carter replied. We've got people out there, warriors who've survived battles and lost everything, and they'll stop at nothing to defend Earth. As the preparations continued, the galaxy's emissary ship was making its way toward Earth. The emissary, a being known as Lord Keldar, was the chosen representative of the Galactic Council. A member of the Zarnathi species, Lord Keldar was known for his diplomatic skills and calm demeanor. His species had been at the center of many of the galaxy's treaties and agreements, but even he felt a sense of unease as his ship approached Earth's atmosphere. He had been briefed on the humans, But it wasn't until he saw Earth with his own eyes that he truly understood. Lord Keldar stood at the observation window of his ship, gazing down at Earth. It was a beautiful planet, full of blue oceans and green continents. But it was also a world scarred by wars and strife. The Zarnathi had been peaceful for centuries, and the idea of negotiating with a species known for violence was uncomfortable. He had heard the stories, the humans' monsters, their warriors, but it was hard to take them seriously. How could such a species coexist with the peaceful civilizations of the galaxy? His thoughts were interrupted by the voice of his communications officer. Lord Keldar, we're entering Earth's atmosphere. The landing area has been prepared. Very well, Keldar said, straightening his posture. Let's make this a peaceful meeting. The sun rose slowly over Earth's horizon, casting a soft golden light over the landscape. But on this day, nothing felt peaceful. The quiet that had followed Lord Keldar's visit was merely the calm before the storm. Humanity's leaders had made their decision. There would be no simple diplomacy. Earth had a history, a past that couldn't be ignored, and that past had forged a people who would not bow to anyone, no matter how advanced their technology. The warning had been clear. Humanity's monsters were not myths. They were very real. In Dawn, the underground command center, General Carter stood at a large holographic map, watching as the dots of human outposts blinked across the globe. The atmosphere was tense. The galaxy may have underestimated Earth, but they would soon learn that this world had far more to offer than just resources, and it wasn't going to let anyone take what was theirs. General, we're ready, Lieutenant Williams reported, standing at attention beside him. The units are in position. Our best warriors are preparing. Carter nodded, his face set in determination. Good. Let's make sure they understand who they're dealing with. The orders had gone out to Earth's elite military units. These weren't the typical soldiers of Earth's armies. These were the survivors, the ones who had fought in the darkest wars, the ones who had trained for combat in the most unforgiving environments. They were Earth's true warriors, and they were about to make their mark. A voice suddenly broke into the silence. General, we have an incoming transmission. Carter stepped over to the communication terminal, his expression grim. A holographic image of President Harper appeared. His face was lined with the weight of his decision, but his eyes were firm. It's time, President Harper said, his voice resolute. We've held back long enough. Prepare the monsters. The general gave a sharp nod. Understood, sir. The term monsters wasn't used lightly on Earth. The term referred to humanity's most skilled and deadly warriors, people who had survived the harshest conditions, whether in battle, in nature, or in personal struggle. These warriors had fought in wars, survived brutal environments, and come out stronger for it. They were not just soldiers. They were living legends. They had been forged in fire, and now it was their time to show the galaxy that humanity wasn't to be underestimated. At a remote military base in the mountains, Captain Jace Donovan stood at attention, waiting for his orders. Jace was one of the most feared of the monsters. He had served in countless campaigns, each more dangerous than the last. His squad had seen things that no one else could imagine, things that would haunt most people for a lifetime. But not Jace. He had come through it all stronger, fiercer, and more determined than ever. He was the first to be called, the first to lead humanity's most elite warriors. As he stood in the briefing room, his commanding officer, General Ramirez, addressed him. Captain, this is it, General Ramirez said. We've been given the green light. We need to show the galaxy what Earth is capable of. Jace's lips curled into a grim smile. We've been ready for this for a long time, sir. The general's eyes were hard, but there was a hint of respect in his gaze. The galaxy has no idea what's coming. Jace nodded. He knew the stakes. Humanity had been thrust into a battle they hadn't asked for, but they were going to fight it with everything they had. The galaxy might think they could control Earth. They might think the humans were weak or easily intimidated. But they were wrong. Out on the battlefield, the warriors of Earth were already gathering. They weren't just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for their way of life. The galaxy had no idea what it meant to be human. To face death, loss, and hardship, and to still stand tall. The monsters of Earth weren't just soldiers. They were a symbol of humanity's strength. As the days passed, the elite soldiers of Earth prepared. They trained relentlessly, knowing that the moment the order came, they would need to act fast. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were humanity's finest, and they were going to make sure the galaxy would never forget who Earth was. Meanwhile, Lord Keldar and the other members of the Galactic Council continued to monitor Earth's movements. From the safety of their ships, they watched as Earth's military forces gathered. The humans were preparing for something. The question was, what? Lord Keldar, there is growing concern among the Council, a worried advisor said, looking up from the data terminal. The humans are not responding to our offer of peace. We fear they may be preparing for war. Keldar sighed, rubbing his forehead. He had hoped the humans would be more open to diplomacy, but now it seemed as though their warriors were preparing for a conflict that could end in disaster for everyone. We must prepare for the worst, Keldar said, his voice filled with uncertainty. But we cannot underestimate them. The humans, they fight like nothing I've ever seen. Their warriors, these monsters, are not to be taken lightly. The advisor nodded grimly. If they do not accept our peace, the galaxy may be forced to act. Back on Earth, Jace and his team were ready. As the communication systems buzzed with the final orders, he gathered his squad together. They stood. In a formation, each one focused, eyes sharp and mind set on the mission ahead. All right, team, Jace said, his voice calm and commanding. The galaxy thinks they can intimidate us. They think they can make us kneel. Well, we're about to show them just what we're made of. We're humanity's monsters, and we fight to win. We don't take prisoners. We don't retreat. The squad nodded, a sense of unity and resolve forming between them. These were men and women who had been through hell and back. They weren't afraid of anything, not even the unknown. Let's remind them who we are, Jace said, his eyes blazing with intensity. And so, the monsters of Earth were unleashed. The first strike came swiftly, like a storm on the horizon. Earth's elite soldiers, led by Jace Donovan, made their way to the outer rim of the galaxy, where the alien invaders had set up their forces. They were prepared for a fight, but nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to face. The humans were coming, and they were coming in full force. As the squad landed on the enemy planet, they saw the alien forces gathered in numbers. The invaders had made the mistake of thinking that humanity was unprepared. They thought the humans would be easy to defeat. But Earth's warriors weren't just soldiers. They were monsters. Monsters born from the depths of humanity's struggles. And now the galaxy was about to learn the true meaning of fear. Jace Donovan and his team charged forward, their weapons blazing, cutting through the alien ranks like a knife through butter. They moved with precision and skill, taking down enemies one by one. No one was spared. The aliens who had dared to challenge Earth's people were now facing a nightmare they could not escape. The battle raged on, and for every alien that fell, humanity's warriors seemed to grow stronger. They were unstoppable, unyielding, and relentless. The monsters of Earth had come to claim victory. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched in awe. The news spread quickly. Humanity's warriors were unlike any force the galaxy had ever seen. The monsters of Earth weren't just myth, they were real. And they had arrived. The planet's surface trembled beneath the weight of the battle. The sky was painted with streaks of light as both Earth's warriors and the alien invaders clashed in a fierce struggle. On the ground, the sound of gunfire, explosions, and shouts filled the air as humanity's monsters fought to protect their world and prove that Earth was not a place to be underestimated. Jace Donovan stood at the front of his squad, his eyes scanning the battlefield. Around him, his team moved with precision, each soldier acting as an extension of the other. They were a well-oiled machine, a unit forged in fire, and now they were putting all their training to the test. The aliens who thought they could conquer, Earth had no idea what they were up against. "Keep pushing," Jace shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We're not backing down." His words were a rallying cry for the soldiers behind him. Each of them had faced death before, had seen the horrors of war, but they had always risen above it. This battle would be no different. The aliens would learn, the hard way, that humanity was not a species to be trifled with. The alien forces, having underestimated the strength of Earth's warriors, found themselves quickly overwhelmed. Their advanced technology and superior numbers meant little against the unyielding will of the humans. The monsters of Earth, soldiers hardened by years of conflict, fought with a ferocity that left their enemies in shock. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something much deeper, their home. As Jace and his squad moved through the enemy lines, cutting down alien after alien, they found themselves facing the heart of the enemy's forces. A massive alien warship hovered above the battlefield, its dark, menacing silhouette casting a shadow over the chaos below. It was a symbol of the invaders' arrogance, their belief that they could control everything. "We need to take that ship down," Jace said, his voice steady as he observed the warship's position. "It's the key to their command. If we destroy it, we cripple their forces." Lieutenant Mia Carter, his second-in-command, nodded. "Understood, Captain. We're ready." Jace's team moved quickly, advancing toward the enemy warship's position. The aliens, realizing the humans were targeting their command ship, fought harder, but it was too late. The humans had already proven their strength. Now they were about to show. The battle had not gone as the invaders had hoped. The warship was destroyed, and the shockwave from the explosion had sent a clear message to the galaxy. Earth's warriors were a force to be reckoned with. But despite the victory, the war was far from over. The enemy still held strong positions, and their forces, although shaken, were not broken. The invasion was far from finished, and humanity's monsters were about to face the most difficult challenge yet. Jace Donovan stood in the command center, staring at the tactical displays on the screen. His face was grim, his jaw set in determination. The victory had been hard fought, but it was just one battle in a much larger war. He knew the invaders would be back, and they would be angrier than ever. The enemy had underestimated Earth's warriors, but now they were learning the hard way that humanity was not so easily defeated. "Captain, we've received a transmission from Lord Keldar," Lieutenant Mia Carter said, her voice cutting through the tension in the room. She handed Jace a data pad with the message. Jace took the pad, his fingers skimming over the message. Lord Keldar, the Zarnathi emissary, was the one who had first come to Earth with the offer of peace. The very same emissary who had witnessed the power of Earth's warriors. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear. The Galactic Council had not given up on their offer of peace. In fact, they were desperate for it. The message read, "We, the Galactic Council, have been watching Earth's progress. The galaxy is in turmoil, and the invasion must stop. The death toll is rising, and we fear we are heading toward an all-out war. We still offer peace. We still believe there is a way to end this without further bloodshed. But humanity must decide. Will you accept our terms?" Jace placed the datapad down on the table, his expression unreadable. He had been expecting this. The galaxy's leaders had not come to Earth with peace in mind. They had come to control. But now, after seeing the power of humanity's warriors, they were offering peace as a way to save face. "I'm not sure how much more of this we can take," Mia said quietly, reading Jace's face. "The Council is offering peace now, but it feels like a trap. They want us to submit, to join their alliance, to bow down to their authority." Jace looked up at her, his eyes steely. "That's exactly what they want. They don't care about peace. They want control. They think that if they offer us peace, we'll give up our strength and our independence." "But we're outnumbered," Mia pointed out, her brow furrowed with worry. "The aliens have more soldiers, more ships. Can we really afford to reject peace and keep fighting?" Jace's lips tightened. "We don't need their peace. We need to show them that Earth's strength is not something they can take from us. If we surrender now, what does that say about humanity? What does that say about all the lives we've lost, all the battles we've fought to get here?" His voice was filled with the weight of his words, and Mia nodded, understanding his point. Earth had fought too hard to simply give up now. "We've come too far," Jace said, his tone softening. We'll fight. We'll keep fighting. And if the galaxy wants to challenge us, they can try. But Earth will never bow down to anyone. The command room fell silent as the soldiers around them absorbed the weight of Jace's words. There was no turning back now. The war was only going to get worse, and humanity would have to face the consequences of their refusal to submit. But they would face it together, and they would fight until the very end. Hours later, the decision was made. Earth's leaders had decided to send a response to the Galactic Council, rejecting their terms. There would be no peace talks, no alliances. The message sent back to Lord Keldar was clear. Earth would stand on its own. The galaxy had underestimated them, and now they would see just how strong humanity was. The response was brief but powerful. We will not surrender. We will not join your council. Earth stands alone, and we will protect our world at all costs. You have seen what we are capable of. If you want to stop us, you'll have to fight. The response sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Galactic Council, which had hoped for a peaceful resolution, now found itself facing an all-out war with a species it had clearly underestimated. The offer of peace was rejected, and the warriors of Earth had sent their message loud and clear. They would not be controlled. On the front lines, Earth soldiers readied themselves for the next wave of conflict. They knew the enemy would come, harder this time. The aliens were angry, and they would stop at nothing to force humanity into submission. But Jace and his squad were ready. They had faced impossible odds before, and they had always come out on top. They would do so again. The next battle would be fierce, and it would test humanity's resolve like never before. The aliens had seen Earth's warriors in action, but they had no idea just how far humanity would go to protect its home. Jace stood, once again before his squad. His expression as determined as ever. They think we're finished. They think they can break us. But we've shown them once what we're capable of. Now we show them again. The squad nodded, their faces set in grim determination. They had fought for Earth, and they would continue to fight. No matter how many invaders came, no matter how strong their enemies were, they would never back down. The monsters of Earth would not be cowed. Meanwhile, on the alien side, Lord Keldar stood in a chamber aboard his flagship, watching the events unfold. The humans had refused peace. They had rejected the chance to join the Galactic Council. They had chosen war instead. Lord Keldar, the humans have rejected our offer, an advisor reported. They have chosen to fight. Keldar stood motionless, his mind racing. He had hoped for peace, but the humans had made their decision. He knew the stakes. If this war continued, it would cost countless lives, not just the humans, but everyone involved. The galaxy could fall into chaos. We underestimated them, Keldar muttered, more to himself than to anyone else in the room. The humans are not just survivors, they are warriors, and now they've made it clear they will fight until the very end. The advisor bowed low. What are our orders, Lord Keldar? Keldar looked out into the stars, his face set in a mixture of respect and concern. Prepare for war. We will bring everything we have to bear against Earth, and we will make sure the galaxy sees what happens when you challenge the strength of humanity. Back on Earth, the warriors continued their preparations. The aliens were coming, and they would bring their full might to bear on the human world. But Earth's monsters were not afraid. They had fought too hard, too long to back down now. The galaxy had made its choice. Earth had made its own. And now the war would continue. Earth would stand tall. Earth would fight. And no one, not the invaders, not the galaxy, would ever forget what humanity was capable of. On the outer rim, Earth's warriors had made their stand, and every victory, every battle had been a message. The invaders had underestimated humanity, and the price for that mistake was starting to show. Now, with every passing day, the soldiers of Earth prepared for the final confrontation, a showdown that would determine not only their survival, but their place in the galaxy. The last battle had been a brutal reminder of what humanity was capable of. Jace Donovan and his squad had led the charge against the alien forces, and the destruction of their warship had sent shockwaves through the ranks of the invaders. But now, It wasn't just about survival anymore. Earth's message had been made clear. No matter how strong the enemy was, no matter the cost, humanity would stand tall and fight to the very end. Jace stood before his team in the briefing room, the weight of the coming battle heavy in the air. His squad, the best of Earth's warriors, was gathered around him, their faces serious, their eyes steely with determination. They had been through countless battles together, but this was different. This time, they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. "We've sent our message," Jace said, his voice calm but resolute. "We told them we wouldn't back down. Now we finish this." Mia Carter, Jace's second-in-command, nodded. "We know what's at stake, Captain. Earth is counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us." "The galaxy doesn't matter," Jace replied firmly. "Earth matters. We've fought for this planet since the First War. Now it's our turn to defend it. This is our home, and we will protect it." The room fell silent for a moment, and then Lieutenant Duncan, one of the squad members, spoke up. "We've won every battle so far, Captain, but we both know the final assault is coming. The aliens are regrouping, and they won't stop until they have Earth." Jace's eyes narrowed. "We'll make sure they know that Earth doesn't fall. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever." The team nodded in agreement, each one of them knowing what had to be done. Earth had already proven its strength. Now they would prove that they were unbeatable. The alien forces had regrouped. They had retreated to their war council where they were plotting their next move. Varek, the reptilian warlord who had led the initial invasion, stood at the head of a large table. His alien officers surrounded him, their faces grim. The last battle had been disastrous for them. The destruction of their warship had sent their fleets into disarray, and the humans were proving far more formidable than they had anticipated. "We cannot afford to lose another battle," Varek growled, his voice filled with frustration. "These humans have already defeated our best forces. They've shown us that they are not afraid to die. We